Hey guys, it's your boy Brainsy. Welcome. Welcome to day 92 of Workout Grind. It's currently 6:15 in the morning and it's Sunday. Supposedly today is actually cardio day, jogging. However, I didn't work out yesterday, which is chest day. So I have to compromise and do chest day instead. It's very cold today, and I'm very tired because I didn't sleep at 10 a.m. Slept at I slept at like 12, almost 12 at least. So my head's a little bit dizzy. You know why? Still wake up in the morning. Well, I want to stay consistent, of course. But that's the one thing that I'm having trouble with, staying consistent. And over the years, I've picked up a lot of tools, a lot of guides on how to stay productive, how to, stay consistent in the grinds that you pursue in your life. But at the end of the day, tools are just tools. It's still um it still depends on you and how you apply it, how you execute these tools. And so I've realized, of course, obviously, but it's still better to realize is that tools are useless unless you apply it. You really have to remember that these things you have to do constantly. Remind yourself every day. And I always forget that. So right now, oh man, acid reflux from the vitamins. Ooh. Sorry. Um, Did an acid reflux from the vitamins. I didn't eat anything yet. I'm about to puke, bro. But I'm, curbing it. Anyways, on top of everything in my grind, I have to remind myself that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it tired, I'm gonna do it down, and I'm gonna do it when I'm afraid. Do it regardless. Do everything regardless. And I have to pre-plan everything else because I get lost in the sauce. I freeze up when I'm not really sure if I should do this or I should do that instead. So it saves up a little bit of the decision to my past self. I mean to my future self if I do that, which is cool. So yeah, I have to like chant this mantra now to remind myself. Do, do it do it tired, do it down, do it afraid. I hope that helps. Also, I have to pray. Maybe I'll pray after chest. Yeah, I'm gonna meditate and pray to God. I'll thank Him for everything that's been happening in my life recently. I'm picking back my pace. I thought I was a lost cause, man. It's like going back into my old stupid habits, and it's crazy that I rebounded. I'm so thankful for that. Thank you, guys. Anyways, I'm freezing cold. I need to work out ASAP because when I work out, things, you know, I don't feel fucking cold. And I'm just gonna turn the lights off. Gonna get them sun cortisol buff thing. Apparently. Let's go. You won't be able to say anything, but who cares? Nobody's watching. Nobody's watching anyways. Alright, let's see. Okay, let's go. You'll be able to see me eventually anyways. The sun will rise in like 10 minutes or something. Don't worry.
There, and right as the nurse left, she immediately went to grab her phone. And she left her phone in her car. And she's like, I realized in that moment I was grabbing that phone because I was anxious and emotionally vulnerable. And that was effectively a sedative in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I had to sit with that. I just had to sit and feel that. She's like, but by being sort of forced into that moment, it made me realize, well, why don't I want to feel this? And that leads to these questions like, oh, because I value being alive. Well, why do I value being alive? Well, here are all these reasons. Oh, I appreciate this thing. I appreciate this other thing. And that insight, I think, taught her a lot about how she wants to spend her time, too. And so having these moments where we don't immediately go for the sort of easy, comfortable thing, I think can lead to these insights. And that's just like this very micro moment, but that it stands for so much.
Well, it's stupid.
And her behavior did change afterwards, you know? She's awesome. She's always been amazing. She's a single mom, and I'm an only child, and she's been sober for 40 years. Yes, 40 years. And I'm 38, so she got sober, had a kid. Cards were definitely stacked against us, but she worked her ass off and built us a pretty good life.
That's awesome.
Definitely weren't rich, but just amazing woman. And I've learned a lot from her.
Sounds like an amazing woman. I'm really happy to hear she's healthy.
Yeah.
And that moment of having left the phone in the car, it's amazing how those small portals in time can open up so much. I think social media offers a lot. I do also think that, as your example points out, it offers the opportunity to numb out or to experience drama. And I feel like when people talk about the dopamine hits of social media, the data on this just don't square with the idea that scrolling our phone gives us dopamine hits. It gives us low-level expenditure. I want to, on the basis of your books, I wrote something down a couple days ago. I was thinking about our conversation. I was thinking, I've long believed that dopamine is a currency. It's the universal currency of motivation. Right? It's what literally allows us to ambulate forward. It controls movement in the body. That's why people with Parkinson's who lose dopamine neurons can't move. But in terms of mental movement, it's motivation, like movement towards something, redirecting our efforts and so forth. And I was thinking about this idea that we can either spend our dopamine, right, or we can invest our dopamine. This is purely on the basis of your work.
Awesome.
And it seems like all day long we can potentially spend dopamine. Scrolling is spending, and it's the kind of spending we don't even notice that we're doing. We're sort of leaking. It's almost like leaking dopamine. We're not getting these big quote unquote dopamine hits. This is why I don't like the dopamine hit model. I don't log on Instagram and go like, wow, like it's not like coming back from a masoji and going, I fucking lived. It's not transformative for the next month. It keeps you in the rut of looking for more because it's like mental chewing gum. It's my dad, who a long time ago, he said, be careful of the internet. I said, why? And he said, it's just mental chewing gum. You
Wise guy.
Yeah, and he's a very regimented guy. And so we're always spending, but then there are these things that require effort that are we're still spending dopamine while we're doing it. Like if you go do a workout, you're spending effort to do it, but you get something back on that investment. So you're investing it, you're not just spending it.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
and the other one,
Great
based on what you
language.
told me today, is reflection in states of boredom or meditation, or for people that orient this way, prayer, whatever it happens to be. Or maybe it's even just leaving a social gathering and keeping your phone in your pocket and walking back to the car and just really thinking about the richness of that interaction. Like these little things that are disappearing in our lives these days, but that are so easy to recapture. That reflection is another way of investing our dopamine. And I think when we look at the neurobiological literature on dopamine, we're going to realize that, yeah, of course, addictions spend out your dopamine, drop your baseline. Your bank account is in the red, deep in the red.
Yeah.
It's a whole other discussion, but that most of us are spending, and then we reset each night with sleep, and then we spend the next day, and then we reset. And it's a life of, it becomes kind of a meaningless life. And this isn't to demonize the social media platforms. That they're pretty good at letting us numb out when we don't want to feel something, or feel drama when we need to feel that like lift. Like, oh my God, she did that, he did that. Oh my God, the lawsuit got dismissed about these two people who are arguing about who said what and who did. I'm like, how boring is it really? Yeah. And how unimportant is it? But it's not boring because they've taught us how to make it not boring. Right?
Yeah,
And then you look at the comments, it's like, blech. It's just like gross. It's like high school forever.
Yeah.
But the worst part of high school.
It effectively trains us to use it.
So when I think about comfort crisis or scarcity brain, I think it's really about how to invest your dopamine in effort and reflection as a way to capture more capability to lean into things. That's really, to me, what I feel like is the genius of doing hard things that you brought forward in the comfort crisis. As I started today's discussion saying, I mean, it really changed my every day, because I think so intensely now about how can I introduce more pain to bring about more meaning, as opposed to comfort, like meaning, and in any case. So, yeah, I think you're really on to the two things that matter most, which are effort and reflection.
I love that language of spending versus investing. It's just, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And the investing is usually things that are going to be a little more challenging, not as hyper-stimulating, things you maybe wouldn't necessarily want to do at first. And then once you've done them enough, you realize, oh, this has really changed me in a fundamental and positive way. And hopefully you start to sort of crave them. Like you said, no, I love exercise, right? That's where we want people to get with all sorts of things that can enhance their life. And I think, too, I'll add here, so if you think about people who pile up money and invest and invest and invest, and they never spend it. Maybe you also need to learn, okay, now that I'm doing all this investing, it's also okay to spend it sometimes, right? And then I can really enjoy that because I've done all these things. And so like I find with my own use, I used to sort of beat myself up if I was on, say, Instagram or whatever, just looking at nonsense. I like nonsense on Instagram. And I would beat myself up. And then I realized, you've done all these things. Like you wrote for 5 hours. You got a workout in. You took your dog for a walk. You helped out around the house. You did all these things. Dude, watch a freaking dog video for 20 minutes. It's fine. And then I could actually appreciate that more, and like I didn't have the guilt around that, and it was like sort of all right, you've invested a bunch. You got all this money. Yeah, buy that thing you don't necessarily need, but it's a nice little boost,
I'd like to take a quick break and acknowledge one of our sponsors, Function. Last year, I became a Function member after searching for the most comprehensive approach to lab testing. Function provides over 100 advanced lab tests that give you a key snapshot of your entire bodily health. This snapshot offers you with insights on your heart health, hormone health, immune functioning, nutrient levels, and much more. They've also recently added tests for toxins such as BPA exposure from harmful plastics and tests for PFASs or forever chemicals. Function not only provides testing of over 100 biomarkers key to your physical and mental health, but it also analyzes these results and provides insights from top doctors who are expert in the relevant areas. For example, in one of my first tests with Function, I learned that I had elevated levels of mercury in my blood. Function not only helped me detect that, but offered insights into how best to reduce my mercury levels, which included limiting my tuna consumption. I'd been eating a lot of tuna, while also making an effort to eat more leafy greens and supplementing with NAC and acetylcysteine, both of which can support glutathione production and detoxification. And I should say, by taking a second Function test, that approach worked. Comprehensive blood testing is vitally important. There's so many things related to your mental and physical health that can only be detected in a blood test. The problem is blood testing has always been very expensive and complicated. In contrast, I've been super impressed by Function's simplicity and at the level of cost. It is very affordable. As a consequence, I decided to join their scientific advisory board, and I'm thrilled that they're sponsoring the podcast. If you'd like to try Function, you can go to functionhealth.com/Huberman. Function currently has a wait list of over 250,000 people, but they're offering early access to Huberman podcast listeners. Again, that's functionhealth.com/Huberman to get early access to Function. The idea that we all have to become these sickos that love self-punishment in service to just building up more dopamine reserves. That's definitely not the goal. I mean, I think one of the reasons that David Goggins is so popular is, well, there are many reasons. He is how he appears online. I mean, I've known David since before he had a book, before his first book. He was exactly that way. He's not playing a role, right? There's no acting. This is how he functions.
That's great.
It's a life that most people are not going to embrace. And if they do embrace it partially, I think it will benefit them tremendously. But he sort of embodies that. He doesn't sort of embody that. He embodies that. I think that being able to relax and enjoy things and really savor them is another source of I won't say everything's investing, but there are certain things that might look like spending your dopamine that are actually investing them. And you described a beautiful one as like walking with your wife, these long hikes and walks, like real relating, in-person relating, I think makes us feel so many things. I mean, there's so much science and psychology about this. I mean, we definitely evolved to connect to other humans.
Absolutely.
So I don't think of it as meaningless relaxation to just connect with people and have a barbecue and just relax, or just whatever they call it, like Netflix and chill can be a great thing if it's not the only thing.
The internet has allowed us a lot of interesting new ways to connect with other people. So we were talking before we hit the red button on record how I'm into the Grateful Dead, right? And I think that you can find a lot of different sort of strange tribes to belong to, and they can be enhanced by the internet. It's like when I got into the Dead, it was like, okay, now I'm listening to the live shows. I'm going down this rabbit hole. Well, I'd find these Reddit threads where people are discussing the live shows and like, hey, if you listen to how Jerry plays this song in 78 versus 79, and I'm like, oh, okay, listen. Oh, wow, yeah, that's really interesting. So then you start weighing in. And then you're friends with, Deadhead 778, who you don't even know who the hell he is or where the hell he lives, but like, this is a great guy online that I can talk to. And then you eventually sort of find yourself at the shows and you're connecting with these people that you would probably otherwise never connect with in normal life. And there's like, the hippie who's got like $2 and a dream to get to the next show in tie-dye. And then there's the hippie who's got the Rolex and he's taking his private jet to the next show on your right. But you're all in it together, and you're sort of like connecting for this sort of big sort of group thing. And I think you could apply that to music, you could apply it to sports teams, this sort of shared cause. And the internet, I do think, can allow you to find those sort of mini tribes,
Yeah, I love it. I just now allowing myself to get familiar with the Grateful Dead. I did go to a bunch of shows because they were from my hometown.
Yeah,
right?
awesome.
California Avenue was where Draper's Music and some of those Grateful Dead band members worked. And there was a great bookstore there, Printers Inc. And so they were kind of an institution in the South Bay where I grew up. But I fell into a different genre of music. But there's some great music that out there. But I think the culture around the Dead, the fact that people would devote their entire lives to, quote unquote, following the Dead, And still now, like people go
Oh, totally.
like with Fish and Dead End Company. This is like an outgrowth of something that I don't know of any other band that had people change their entire lives in terms of the whole structure of their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I went a bunch of times when they're in Vegas at the Sphere. I have another fun thing, and there's like that shared sense of connection, whether it's a sports team, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a type of music. When I was on this long hike, you get within shooting distances of towns, and that's where you have to go resupply. But you might be 40 miles from a town, so you're like, all right, we got to hitchhike. All right, so we got to ride into this town called Escalante, Utah. It's this tiny town. So we go restock food. You know, we each eat like a 16-inch pizza ourselves and like wings because you got to refuel. And then we're at this gear store and we need to ride back to the trailhead. It's like 40 miles away. So it's like, how the hell are we going to find a ride? Like, this is going to take forever to hitchhike. I'm in this gear store and they happen to have this, I can't remember what it was. It might have been like a beanie or something that had a Deadhead on it. I picked it up. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And this lady comes up to me and she goes, oh, you like the Dead? I'm like, yeah, I like the Dead. And she works in the shop and she's like, yeah, me too. We start talking. Well, it turns out this lady's seen them like 500 to 1,000 times was her estimate. I'm like, well, it's a big estimate, but that's a lot of shows, right? And we just immediately connect. And she's like, oh, you need a ride back to the trailhead? I'm like, that would be great. Yeah, and it's just like, just that thing, that little emblem of the Dead immediately allowed us to have this conversation and have this shared sense of connection.
I had that moment for Duolingo, man. I was just shopping along with my family, just learning stuff in Duolingo. I was just doing this. And then someone fucking approached me. There was a girl and was like, yo, you play Duolingo as well? I do Spanish. What's yours? It's fucking wholesome. It's funny. It was nice. Like I'm pretty much a fucking awkward, social deprived guy. So fucking that moment kind of shell shocked me. I was like, yeah. I was just doing that stupid stutter thing. And I was like, yo, there's so many things there. What do you think about Duolingo? I was like, oh man, there's heart system now. Yeah, that sucks. But I can't follow, dude. Like, what am I gonna say? And it's like, yeah, that's cool. All right, see ya, bye. And I was like, okay, bye. Such an awkward dumbass. Wherever that person is, I hope she's doing fine. She's doing well in life. It's really wholesome. Anyways.
So kind of finding something to identify with people, I think, can be just like a great adventure. And like, you meet new people, like go out and find interesting communities to belong to, try stuff. I mean, this is the power. So you had Ryan in for the Recovery and Addiction podcast. Like
Ryan
that's,
Suave,
yeah, that's the power of recovery groups. It's the powers in the group. Because you've got this shared identity with people. You have people keeping tabs on you. You're keeping tabs on other people. They help you. You help them. You share your stories. They know things about you that probably no one else does. And there's an identity in that. And it's powerful. It's why that works. If I'm going to forget the names of the founders, Bill Wilson, if he founded that online and was like, hey, we're all just going to chat on AOL Messenger, probably would have helped a lot of people, but it would not have the power that it would have of getting people together to converse. I think it's harder for people to go out and do that today because it's much easier to only do things sort of online and sort of, be a little bit of a hermit, if you will. And I think forcing yourself to go into new places, meet new people, try new things, get into new stuff, and go out and meet people in person can be really powerful today. I wrote a post on 2% about the value of gathering and sort of identifying with something, like whether it be a band or a team or whatever. And I talked to this researcher. She's up in Oregon. I forget what university, and I'm sorry for that. But she talked about how the internet, when used appropriately, can be a really great community builder. And she also said the best thing that can happen is when those type of communities then figure out ways to meet up in person. Like that's the perfect next step. And it all starts with like, okay, we have this community online. Oh, I'm going to be in San Francisco. Who in the group is San Francisco based? Let's meet up and get coffee. And I do think you're starting to see more of that happen. Like it's happening on Substack with a lot of writers. For example, I do events that I call the Don't Die event. And it's me.
This is different than the Brian Johnson Don't Die event.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, this is different.
This is the original Don't Die
This
event.
is a different type of Don't Die, yeah.
The original Don't Die.
What we do is it's me and my friend Mike Moreno. Amazing guy. Mike was a CIA case officer in Iraq and Afghanistan, I believe. And we basically teach people like travel, wilderness, survival skills over 2 days. And so it's most of the people that come are from people who read my Substack. And so it's people who are often active in the comments. They all know each other. Like people show up and they know each other from the internet. And then we all hang out and we do awesome stuff together. And it's just like, it's the best. But it's like that step to get people in person, I think needs to happen. Mm-hmm. And so one thing I've even thought about too is you hear a lot about how people spend less time together, and there's a variety of reasons for that. You know, people will point to the sort of less activity in organized religion, which used to be the sort of hub of sociality in towns. But I also think things like, and I talked to a woman I love. She was with the Wall Street Journal. She's back at the Wall Street Journal, a reporter. Her name is Gwendolyn Bounds, Wendy Bounds. And she wrote a book called Little Chapel on the River. And it's about, she was at the Wall Street Journal when 9/11 happened. And she was living in the city, like she was taking a shower when the planes hit the towers. And so to get out of the city, she ended up moving to this town called Garrison, New York. And the heart of this town is this old Irish pub that is right by the train station. And she's like, and people from this town would come to this Irish pub and they might have 1 drink, 2 drinks, but it was like the hangout. And you'd get, you know, people who were super right-leaning, people who were super left-leaning in the bar, and they would, you know, they'd give each other shit, but it was all in fun. And it was like the heart of community and gathering and human connection. And I think you're starting to see a little bit of a death of places like that. You know, like the community pillar institution has sort of been replaced by, you know, chains or something. And like, yeah, people can gather at chains, but there's not like that unique identity. It's all like predetermined by someone in a corporate office 3,000 miles away. And I think there's a case for like trying to find those places that still exist and hang out, whether it be, you know, the pub. You don't even have to drink at pubs. I can tell you that. I don't drink. Still go hang out at a bar.
And I love bars. I sometimes work in bars and I don't drink.
Yeah, it's great. Restaurants, whatever it might be. I think there's a case to get out in the world. And again, you know, I'll go back to the comfort crisis that I think sometimes that is hard to just go somewhere. You're like the new guy. Hey guys, you know, and to strike up a conversation with someone random. But I do think it is really good for us in the long term. I think too, the internet dehumanizes people, right? It's easy to yell and scream at an icon that's, you know, the size of a thumbtack on the screen who said one thing. But if that same person was in person across from the bar from you, you may not even talk about politics with that person, right? And here people make these crazy death threats or something. Whereas like if that person was just across the bar from you, you may not even talk about that. And you might actually think they're a great person. I'll give you another example. More hitchhiking. So we had to we got into this town when we were on this hike, resupply. We need to get up to the trailhead. This trailhead's 20-minute drive away or something. These people pull over and they say, oh, because we got our thumbs out, you know, we're like old school hobos, and say, oh, do you need a ride? And it was this couple from China. They had come over a week ago just for some vacation. They're both from China. This was at the heart of the trade war. The trade war was at its apex when this happens, right? China had just like decided they're not even going to ship us some rare minerals we needed. I wasn't paying too much attention to the news out there, but I was aware of that. We get in the car with this couple from China, and like, that's all happening in the world. And guess what? No one gave a shit about in that moment. All this media on CNN and Fox and social feeds and everything about the damn trade war. These two Americans, one of who worked in government for 20 years, and these two people from China, and we're just connecting, talking about the United States versus what it's like to live in China. Oh, you guys are academics. Oh, it's fantastic. We're just really, really connecting. And they're doing us this huge favor of giving us a ride up to the trailhead. And these are two people that these people, this is awesome. These people are great. And no one gave a shit about all this noise happening that should seemingly put us in this maybe tense moment, right? So I think that when you actually get in front of people and face to face, people have about 75 million more things in common than they do things that are not in common that they could argue about. And it takes that interaction and going out into the world. I found that when I travel, people everywhere are far more kind, happy, willing to help than I would have ever expected. And I had high expectations going in. But it takes those experiences to realize that. And I do think that if you're kind of just existing behind a screen where it's easy for people to shout, you get this distorted view of the world. It's go out, talk to people, have different experiences. You're going to walk away realizing that, hey, most people are actually totally fantastic if you just give them the time of day, talk to them, ask them questions, and be nice. Being nice is the number one tool in my toolbook to survive and get along at my job and do all these different, just be nice to people. And you'll find that most people are nice back.
It's this starting in the real world and perhaps bringing something online, posting about it or writing about the great experience later, as opposed to the online experience brought into the world. I have a friend, he's a very accomplished musician, and he doesn't do his own social media. And we get together for dinner once every couple of weeks. And once I got out there and I said, oh yeah, I saw this thing online. He said, I don't want to hear about social media. And I realized in that moment, I was like, okay, got it. We're not going to talk about something that was on social media. Why would we do that? Was in his mind, why would we do that? We're here. Why? Let's have an experience now.
And I think this can be easy too. And I'm going to, because I didn't say this and it came to my mind when we were talking about Misogi. When I talk about this and I say, something I did that might seem hard for people, I'll put a caveat on that, is that there's way more people out there doing even more extreme things. At the same time, there's people whose entry point, you got to do the thing where you're at. So I gave this talk, right? And I talked about Misogi in the talk. And afterwards, this lady comes up to me and she goes, hey, I had read your book and I learned about this Misogi idea. And she goes, my Misogi was trying sushi. I go, trying sushi? And she goes, it's trying sushi. I go, okay, tell me about that. She goes, I just always had this fear around sushi, but people told me it was good, but I couldn't do it. I forced myself to do it. She's like, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. But more importantly, it taught me what other fears do I have about things that are probably totally fine. And that opened this big door for me to go try all sorts of new things. I'm kind of afraid of flying alone. What if I went and took a trip and visited a friend? Now I got to go hang out with my friend. It just opens doors, right? And so really, it can be anything. It can be something totally objectively extreme and crazy. It can be trying sushi. Just try something.
So it's really about pushing up against those edges
Yeah.
in real life.
Wherever the edge is.
Do you think it's possible to structure one's day around making the morning and day really tough? And when I say tough, I mean in the sense that you go against your impulse to do things the easy way, and then making your evenings and nights really relaxing.
Yeah, I try and do that. I'll get into the heinous details about my evenings in a moment, but I'll tell you about my mornings. And I'd actually like to hear about how you approach this too. So in the morning, I wake up usually very early. Now I'll put an asterisk there that I also go to bed early. So I wake up at in between 3:30 and 4:30.
What time do you go to sleep?
Probably 8:30.
Okay.
So wake up at 3:30, get a cup of coffee. Immediately I go to my desk and I write. And I sit there, and to your point, it takes a little bit of that warm up, right? But I know as a writer, the more time I'm in my chair behind that keyboard, the more likely I am to produce words that work for the goal I'm trying to accomplish. So I need that, say, 4 or 5 hours every single day. And it is hard. It's usually like the first 2 hours, I'm just like, oh, you suck at this. This is terrible. Why did you choose this career?
How does your body feel? Physically, is writing hard for you? Like, is the chair comfortable? Are you feeling strained? Are you relaxed? Is it all just mentally hard, or is it physically demanding as well?
I would say it's more mentally. You kind of just get in it. For me, it's like you get in this zone and you're like, I got this idea, like, how am I going to put this down? And you write something out, you're like, that's not it. But there's like this one nugget. Okay, take that one nugget. Now what can we do with that? And it's kind of like putting together this really like kind of difficult puzzle. But I've also found that eventually you kind of start to hit a stride and things start to work. And I know that some days I'm going to sit there for 5 hours and I'm going to get out like 300 words and they're going to be okay. But some days, like, just boom, magic happens. And I might bang out like 3,000 words and I'm like, those are decent. Those are decent words. But if I'm not there doing that every single morning, despite knowing that most days it's probably going to be hard, like, the book's not going to write itself. All right. So I do think, like, with a lot of things that a person might want to improve in, you really do have to be willing to put in the time and realize that there's going to be really challenging moments. But those challenging moments, they also make the days when you get the metaphorical 3,000 decent words, they make it just awesome. So to lean into that. So that's kind of like how I approach my mornings and evenings. Like I kind of alluded.
Look at this skin tone difference, man. This is light and dark. The fuck, man. Okay. So my hands would technically be equally exposed to the sun, because I understand that my chest would be lighter because I'm wearing shirt all the time and stuff. My hands, bro. Look. Big ass difference, man. I mean, there's still difference, but not that much. But damn, what's your excuse, face? What the fuck is this? Fuck. I gotta address this, man. I gotta address this. This is straight up hyperpigmentation. This is stupid. I'm close to being really. They say I'm dark skinned because of my face, because this is the first impression that they see. Nobody's gonna look at this. They're gonna look at this. Fucking this, bruh. Look how different that is. Oh, I had to look here, right? Fucking look. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah, I think I'm gonna include like vitamin C serum in my routine of skincares. Look, I do face wash, I do toner, moisturizer. There's nothing for whitening. Before, I used this hydroquinone. I have this one,
I've alluded to.
but I don't use this anymore because this was expired, you know? So I'm not doing that. But I had to find something, because I really feel like I'm close to something, you know? I don't know. Like, look at my skin. Oh my god. Where am I? Tricep? Am I in tricep now? Yeah, I think so. I don't
Alluded to with social media, how now I've just kind of let off and just let myself be okay with just letting my brain turn off. My wife and I watch some pretty heinous reality television. That is our thing. Turn on. Big fan of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Okay.
I will admit it.
Okay. I confess I've never seen that one. Is it?
Don't start. Just watch stuff like that. And it's just like, you know, can connect over this totally just mindless show. And it's almost like it's kind of a reset. It's like, you know, those ladies throwing drinks in each other's faces, screaming at each other. It's just a nice little beep. Your brain's reset for the day.
So you're writing from about 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning until you said about 4 hours?
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours. So
Okay.
whatever the math
Yeah,
is on that.
you're getting up to use the bathroom?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're drinking some more coffee, some more water.
Yeah, I might get another coffee.
You have breakfast before.
Usually after.
After.
Yeah.
And then what happens between 8 a.m. and
I'll usually work.
and Salt Lake City housewife, what is she called?
After I've got like the key core writing in, I would say that then I focus on what I not eloquently at all say would be the sort of bullshit, like, oh, we got all these emails to respond to, got to do sort of this task and that task, whatever project isn't sort of like my main writing. Probably bullshit is not the right word for it because it's important stuff, but I just sort of value that writing time. And then I will usually, I'll usually exercise before I eat dinner, usually around 4. I tried exercising in the morning for a while, but I realized that is like my peak hours for writing. And that was kind of getting interrupted. And so I'm like, okay, I'm good with it being before dinner.
Do you do caffeine before your afternoon workout? I'm just curious.
No, not usually. I usually shut off caffeine probably around noon. Probably heard that on this podcast, actually. But I actually, years ago, I did a sort of caffeine audit, and my caffeine was out of control. And so I just did cold turkey, quit. I felt like I was literally felt like I had the flu for about 28 hours. And then I slept for 18 hours straight. And then I had a headache for a week. But I felt a little better. And so I've tried to be a little more cognizant of how's the intake going. Some days I'm better than others, Sometimes I go, so you had 2 32-ounce cold brews today. Seems like a lot of caffeine for one man, but what are you going to do?
I mean, you're talking to a lifelong caffeine addict here. So I unless I've had a cold or a flu, I don't take breaks, and I consume an outrageous amount of caffeine.
How much do you think you consume?
I'm going to shock some people, but I'm very caffeine tolerant. I should say that first. And I'm actually a pretty mellow person.
Yeah.
And I probably consume distributed from the morning until about 2 or 3 p.m. Usually 2 p.m. is my cutoff. Somewhere between 600 and 800 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Okay.
But before people balk at that, keep in mind that when you look up online, you go, oh, ChatGPT, how much caffeine is in a typical cup of coffee? It's going to say like 150 milligrams of caffeine. If you go to like a Starbucks or a Peet's Coffee, or they're brewing it much stronger than that. So a small probably has somewhere between 200 and 250. Medium is going to be 350 to 500. I once said that, a venti coffee, what I call a large, but just to orient people, can have 800 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. People are like, no way. And then I got some brushback on that. Look, people have tested this out. Different places are brewing them differently. So what most people are consuming a lot more caffeine than they realize, which is why they have a headache when they don't drink it. I like caffeine, but mostly in the form of yerba mate, either this or just brewed leaves. And it's a very different caffeine high. It rises more slowly. It kind of arcs down. If I drink a coffee, as opposed to espresso or yerba mate, it's a real punch. So I'm not drinking 800 milligrams of caffeine from coffee.
Yeah,
it's a very different.
Interesting.
I mean, my day looks quite different than yours, but I definitely agree that once we figure out our optimal circadian schedule, which for you sounds like you're a true, probably genetically from what we understand, early bird. You like to go to bed somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m., wake up somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m. Most people who try and get on that schedule really struggle, and they start to revert toward the more typical schedule or the night owl schedule. But most people, like me, go to bed somewhere between 10 and 11:30 at night. I can get to bed by 9:30, but it's tough. Typically at 10:30 in bed, 11 I'm out. And then if I do that, I need maybe 6.5 hours of sleep and I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then the night owls definitely exist. There are people for whom their genetic polymorphisms in their genome make them want to go to bed at 1, 2, 3 a.m. and sleep until, 8, 9, 10, even 11 a.m. and they do best. But I agree that once you figure out your optimal circadian schedule, early bird, typical, or night owl, that there are a couple of 3 to 4 hour pockets during the day when our attention and wakefulness is just at its greatest, and you have to decide what you're going to devote that to. And from what we understand, that morning bout, which for you falls very early, is when the catecholamines, dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine are really being released at their greatest amount. It's almost like the bank account to
Yeah.
invest. You're like, okay, you can invest now. You're going to spend, you're going to invest. And I think many people spend it out. And exercise is great. I noticed that cardio, so to speak, gives me a lot of energy and focus in the hours that follow. Whereas resistance training, which arguably I like to train hard and I like training heavy.
Yeah.
Afterwards, if I shower up and eat something, my brain is fatigued in a way that I'm like, damn, I invested it in exercise. I can't invest in everything. So I think finding those times when we are optimal is great, and not just spending it out on meaningless stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to so many of these. I hear from a lot of young guys on this in particular, guys who are like hitting their early, mid, late 20s. And they're like, my life is like not heading in a particular direction. The so-called failure to launch kids. And it's scary. And then you say, well, what are you spending your time on? I'm like, well, I get some exercise, but then a lot of YouTube, a lot of video games, a lot of spending out. And I realize that there are some people who can make a career out of video games, but most can't.
Right.
So I think there are a lot of casualties of that kind of spending out of those key hours.
Yeah, I think so too. And I do agree with you that it's all about finding whatever's going to work for you. You got to find that sort of magic, those magic hours, as I would call them in a non-scientific way. The example I always like to give is Hunter S. Thompson, where he would sleep until noon. And
You surprise me every day, Brazy. Look at that, bro. Anyways, wait, hold on, let me just... I might die. I'm always afraid with squeeze press, man, because the dumbbells are directly in front of my chest, and sometimes I get way too fatigued, like... But if I push it too far and I can't hold up the dumbbells anymore, I feel like I'm just gonna let go of the dumbbells and boom, get the fucking dumbbells straight into my chest and I die. Life risking for buff, right? What the fuck? I don't know, how do you prevent that kind of thing? In the gym, I think you can't do that because there's like machines. Like there's this bar thing and you just do this. Like this. So that's okay. Because like if you let go, boom. Most of the fucking thing can go is just right in your face and there's no weight in front of you or anything. It's at the back. So yeah, gym is safer. But I like it. I like house, you could just wake up, you just roll off your yoga mat and then boom, work out. So but I like to live as well. So what I usually do is I'm just gonna, feel my body, check if I'm actually, up to the test of lifting 11 reps of squeeze press or whatever the fuck. Chest, shoulder press as well. Like I'll always get like very tired in shoulder press, and I feel like when I just let go, and I let go of the fucking dumbbell, because of the height, it could really fall really hard, and it would probably drag my hands and shit, and I'll dislocate something. I don't know. Just those gym fears and stuff. Better to be safe, I'll just fucking wait it out. See if I'm actually capable. I feel like I am now. So I'll risk it. You know what? There's this one buff, of course, that I keep on neglecting, but it's actually a pretty good buff. I don't know if you can hear it, but hold on. This is a really good buff, bro.